I struggled with feeling empty, I never had the discipline to pursue my dreams, and social anxiety completely controlled my life. But I've overcome all of these struggles through one thing: the practice of Buddhism. As Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says, Buddhism isn't a religion. Like yoga, it's a practice. The problem is, when you try to learn Buddhism online, you either find content overloaded with complicated information or videos made for Harvard scholars. That's why I'm creating this 3-part Buddhism 101 guide. I want to show you that Buddhism doesn't have to be hard or intimidating. It's simple, practical, and truly life-changing. It's late 2023 and I just decided to join a Discord server by this YouTuber named Hamza. Hamza is a self-improvement YouTuber who makes videos about masculinity and fitness and all of these different topics. While all the other servers that I joined previously were about gaming, game development, or anything of that sort, I decided to make a change in my life. I clicked on the join button and now I'm flooded with all of these new channels. There's fitness, relationships, dating advice, etc, etc. But one particular thing stood out to me. Over there in the lecture announcements channel was a comment made by a Buddhist monk. And it was titled Real Adonis Buddhist Monk in Hub 1 VC or in Lecture Announcement VC. And so I decided to watch one of his recordings, his live recordings, to see what was up. Bro, I did not expect what I just saw, what happened in that live recording. My mind was absolutely blown. He gave me methods on how to discipline myself, on how to do the hard work easily, on how to live fully, on how to become aware of the present moment, on how to fix loneliness, on how to become my own best friend. All of these different things that I struggled with in the past were now solved because of this one lecture. And so these 5 minutes became my anchor of stability. And then it became 10, and then it became 20, then 40, then 70, and then it became a part of my life. I was now a practitioner of Buddhist philosophy. Now, if you can imagine a hotel without a stable foundation to build upon, you cannot build the luxurious rooms, you cannot build the beds, you cannot build the infinity pool on the top. And the same goes with Buddhism. Without a stable foundation to build upon, we cannot construct deeper and more complex topics. So this is why we start with the Buddha's teaching of the 3 jewels. So the Buddha was born as Prince Siddhartha Gautama, and Siddhartha was a young prince that lived a lavish lifestyle. His father wanted him to stay in the palace and then become the next ruler of the palace because he was the king, the father was the king. The thing is, the father never let him out of the palace. He wanted Siddhartha to stay in the palace until he was of age because he didn't want Siddhartha to see the true realities of the world, to see death, to see age, to see sickness. So all of the people that were sick, all of the people that were dying, every single sign of aging in a plant or an animal or a flower, he took them outside of the palace because he didn't want young Siddhartha to see it. But eventually, Siddhartha reached the legal age at this time, and so he exited the palace with a little carriage, a little steed, whatever it's called, and horses. But you see, what Siddhartha was about to see next would shock him for the rest of his life. As he was on his carriage on his way outside of the palace, he saw an aging man. It was the first time that he saw an elderly man. He had never seen this old, this frail, this weak of a person before, and he asked the attendant, he asked the person who ran the steed or who ran the carriage, what is this? And the carriage man, the steed man, unknowing that his father didn't allow him to see elderly people like this, he said to Siddhartha, that's an elderly man. And Siddhartha asked, does this happen to everyone? Does everybody get old? And he said, yes. Eventually, as Siddhartha went on, he saw another thing, and the other thing was a sick man. The same exchange happened between the two. Does everybody get sick? Yes. Then, after that, Siddhartha sees a dead man, a corpse. Does everybody become dead? Yes. At this point, Siddhartha is absolutely shocked. Imagine being somebody who never knew of these realities of life until now, until you are of age. His entire world crumbled right in front of him. He felt weak and had to retreat for many, many days back to his house, back to his palace. He came out and he saw his next sight. He saw the next thing that would forever change his life. And it was a monk, a serene monk. And so Siddhartha was amazed. How could this serene monk be happier than he is, knowing the truths and not having this luxurious lifestyle? And so Siddhartha was called to leave his worldly, princely life behind. So Siddhartha made a commitment to sit under a tree, a Bodhi tree, for weeks, for days. And he sat there until he realized nirvana. Of course, there were temptations. There were the evil clutches of Mara, the embodiment of temptation and desire, trying to clutch him, trying to bring him back to the world, sending his 3 most beautiful daughters to try and seduce Buddha. But Siddhartha stayed still, and finally, after weeks, after days of sitting in meditation under the tree, Siddhartha realized nirvana. Now the first jewel out of the 3 jewels is the Buddha. And it can mean the historical Buddha, the Buddha that we've just talked about. But also, it can mean the Buddha within us, our Buddha nature. And Chinese monk Huangbo calls this Buddha nature our original mind. Our original mind is the mind that is free from opinions and thoughts. It is the mind that we had when we were an infant. And that doesn't mean regression back to its fetus, uneducated self, but that means realizing that the mind is not the thoughts that you put into it. The mind is not the things that you feed into it right now. Realizing that the thoughts, that the beliefs, that the opinions that we feed into our mind right now isn't actually ours, but is instead from external circumstances. Our mind was originally a blank canvas. It was free. As a child, we had no responsibilities. You couldn't label the mind even as the mind, but it would be just. And life is just, without any labels, without any thoughts. So to take refuge in the Buddha nature, is to close your eyes and to just breathe in, to just breathe out, and to just let the mind be, to let the original mind be without any interruption, and to realize the original mind is not the things we put into it. The original mind is not the opinions or thoughts, but it's the mind that is just as it is. No labels, no thoughts, just be. Now the second jewel is the Dhamma. And the Dhamma is any type of Buddhist teaching, whether it be from the Buddha himself or whether it be from monks or nuns. And to take refuge in the Dhamma is to commit to undertaking the path that the Buddha teaches. The third jewel is the Sangha. And the Sangha is the community of people that is undertaking the practice of Buddhism, the path. Traditionally, it meant a community of monks and nuns, but now in our modern world, it can mean a community of anybody. You and me and this other guy can become a Sangha together as a part of a community. And to take refuge in the Sangha is to be able to take guidance and support from other Sangha members, to be able to be vulnerable and open with each other as brothers, as sisters, as a family on the path. So your actionable step right now, if you want to learn more about Buddhism, is to watch this video. There's probably going to be a card popping up right here. So that's the first part of my explanation of Buddhism. One of the most well-known people in our modern age, similar to the Buddha, is the Dalai Lama. And let me tell you, this man has mastered the art of living fully. If you want to learn how to live fully, just like the Dalai Lama, click on this video. Other than that, stay tuned so you won't miss the second installment to this series. As always, live in the now, because tomorrow may never come. Bye-bye.